I appreciate the hearing because I came in here with one set of expectations and questions and kind of morphed into some conclusions I didn't think I would be at. But I think for me the overall question about whether SB 71 is worthwhile is I think that it is. I don't think the state has the same skin in the game with equipment tax break as opposed to giving job credits or loan guarantees or things like that. So it's a higher level of risk. You know, I kind of jumped on the issue earlier when we kept talking about the money, the revenues we were losing. Well, are we really losing them? Because you're talking about creating an atmosphere of, you know, if we locate here, we're not going to have to pay this, so that puts us on the same level as, say, in Oregon or other states that don't have, you know, a tax on equipment, manufacturing equipment already. So, you know, it does beg the question, you know, what's the risk-benefit ratio? Well, there's not a whole lot of risk. If they don't invest, they're not paying anything anyway, so all we're losing is something we could have done, and maybe we help them become more viable. Obviously, that's the hope, is that A, will create a culture that will attract manufacturing back to the state, but then that they will be more viable because their costs are less. One of the things we don't have is a viability test, and as long as I think the treasurer actually made a good point that he didn't really want to get into that because it's so subjective that how do you form the metrics to do that? But to the degree that we could agree, not just on green, I would actually like to see this on all of our equipment, and the LAO actually said that in the long term it would probably benefit us to do that. I think that's a policy direction that we should be moving toward. I know Mr. Goldberg tried to make the case that it's costing the state. I just don't get that. We can save the state a lot of money by not attracting any business, but that's not going to, you know, get us the jobs we need. And if we're going to create jobs, we have to do things differently than we're doing now, because right now they're going elsewhere. Not all of them, but many of them that can are going elsewhere. And as we listened to a couple of the businesses here, they cited, you know, upon the questioning of the dais up here, you know, what would help? Well, what I heard and wrote down was streamlining the process. That's critical. We don't have much of a streamlined process. We have regulations. We create regulations ourselves, but other levels of government do that as well. And so it can become very confusing. And if it's not reliable, streamlined, predictable, that makes it more expensive and risky, which are not things business likes to have. Now, one of the speakers said that loan guarantees would be good, and yet, if anything, we learned out of Solyndra, maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe grants and loan guarantees on what is systemically a risky business, which are these renewable energies, it's just risky as the technology keeps changing. I would imagine that data would show it's a higher level of failure on those businesses than other failures, even though the treasurer cited, you know, a high level of business ventures that fail. But to the degree that this program is just giving a break on sales or use tax on equipment, that's totally different than giving them grants or loan guarantees. I certainly wouldn't, you know, approve of that. And then one of the other speakers said that grants and loan guarantees are not much value to the state. I would agree to that. Certainly an incentive for a business to locate here, but I don't see how that benefits us, and I could start finding myself agree with Mr. Goldberg, and then I'd be very concerned if I did that too much. No disrespect, just saying. So I think we have to understand not all jobs are created equal, not all businesses are created equal, not all of them are as stable. Renewables are risky, and so when we start delving into the economics of that, we have to be very careful where we go, but I think this program is probably okay.